Welcome to BookSnoop's YouTube channel. Today I'll be reviewing The Arkadians by Lloyd, a classic fantasy full of teamwork, adventure, and of course, magic. It tells the story of a young man who, escaping a troubling situation with his king, joins forces with a young sorceress and a poet who's fallen under a powerful spell. Together, as an unlikely troupe, the companions travel across the land of Arcadia, meeting new people, going on new adventures, and ultimately fulfilling a prophecy which will decide the fate of the boy's kingdom. The story may seem straightforward, but they say that sometimes less is more, and that is certainly the case with this novel. The writing is a very old-school classical fantasy style. The novel is enjoyable to read with a light and humorous tone, but perhaps more importantly to some, it is easy to follow with a simple prose that anyone can grasp. This trait makes the novel accessible to all. The flowy nature of the writing reads quite quickly. The dry humor is also easy to understand and relatively age-appropriate. This being said, the novel is fast-paced as a result. The lack of challenging writing or slow, dry spells makes for a speedy read, which is certainly good for young readers who quickly lose interest. However, for mature readers who enjoy a slow, thick, detailed fantasy novel, this may not be for you. The story itself exhibits classical storytelling with an air of mythology. In fact, it borrows from some of the Greek myths as it takes place in Arcadia. The novel could be called a travel adventure, as it takes the form of many small adventures in one, where, usually, each event takes place in a different region of the novel's world. One potential annoyance is that it has a somewhat predictable fairy tale-like ending. An endearing quality of the novel is that it treasures and values storytelling itself, particularly the oral tradition. Other themes also include working collaboratively towards peace and kinship. This uplifting message is present in how characters learn to set aside prejudice and misjudgment towards those who are different. This novel, while focusing on a small number of key characters, does introduce many others throughout the story. There are multiple stories within this story, explaining each character's personal history, and therefore granting the reader a deeper understanding of each individual. This can be highly enjoyable. However, some readers might prefer to discover characters and their pasts in a more gradual and less direct manner. An intriguing first chapter sets up the initial engagement, and the engagement is consistent throughout. This is because new characters and adventures are introduced around every turn. The dialogue effectively reveals a lot of characterization, as well as conveying tone and emotion very well. The majority of the novel's plot is carried through dialogue, and the novel is almost stripped of long descriptive paragraphs. The setting definitely gives off Greek vibes and inspirations, and one does not have to be an expert to grasp this in the story. The story takes place in various regions, but the prose offers limited detailed descriptions of these places. Some readers won't be bothered by this if they prefer to have things being left up to the imagination. The plot takes a quick and steady format, focused highly on storytelling and characterization, and less so on moments of action. The fast pacing, as already mentioned, can be liked or disliked depending on readers' personal interests. With all commentary aside, let's turn to the rubric. Attempting to judge the novel as objectively as possible, I have given The Arkadians the following scores. For quality of writing, level 3. For readability, 5. For pacing, level 4. For story uniqueness, 3.5. For theme/message, level 3. For characters, 3.5. For engagement, level 4. For quality of dialogue, 4.5. For setting, 3.5. And for plot, level 4. This gives the book a total score of 76 out of 100. You can compare this to the score of 78 out of 100 on Goodreads. And now for the genre breakdown. 5 stars for fantasy/mythology, 4 stars for action/adventure, 1 star for romance, and 4 stars for classical. My personal opinion of the book is very positive, as I find a lot of enjoyment in novels written for younger audiences, so long as they are well written. There is an ease of flow and charming nature to Lloyd Alexander's writing. It is stripped and simplistic, but very much high-quality work. I personally think that a lot is left to the imagination to keep the novel both more engaging and less wordy. Overall, this classic fantasy adventure is a great fit for enthusiasts about these genres, especially for young readers. The quality of the work is evident throughout. And as always, master storyteller Lloyd Alexander succeeds at being charming without being cheesy. This is a great read for both dedicated fans and for those unfamiliar with his astonishing work.